Welcome to She Says with your host, Stephanie Regalado. She Says guests share stories from their challenges to successes and, most importantly, the journey of womanhood woven alongside the collaboration of sisterhood. From self, love, friends and family, to hot topics, career, and world views, Stephanie and her guests discuss matters with utmost openness and honesty. So let's hear what she says. Here's Stephanie.
Welcome to She Says podcast. You'll notice I'm sitting in today for Stephanie Regalado. I'm Jennifer Evans. I had the privilege of being on once before, kind of kicking off the whole show. But now that she's out having an amazing time on a spring break vacation with her kiddos, she gave me the opportunity to host today. So I'm excited. And I made quite a list. Stephanie was laughing at me, as always, about who I was going to have. But it became really clear to me that the obvious choice was my daughter. This is Madison Hampton, and I'm so glad to have her here with me. So we can just kind of jump right into some of the questions. And, you know, I actually stole some of the questions that Stephanie had asked me because it kicked off such a great talk. So it's fun. You know, Madison, you are obviously one of the closest people in the world to me, my firstborn little girl. And we have so much fun together. You're one of my most trusted advisors, one of my favorite people to be around. But, you know, sometimes there's some teasing that comes with that. You know, what's something positive that you'd love to share with people? Something you wish people knew about us?
You know, I don't think people get to understand, like, how cool our connection is, you know. I only have you as a parent. You're all I have. And what's so cool is that we get to choose that connection every single day, and that you're my mom, you're also my friend, and you're someone that walks with me through all of my life. And I'm so lucky to have like such a deep connection with you that I can share all of my stuff and be authentic with you, which not everyone really gets to be with their parents.
Which has been fun. And I know we joke, you're my wife.
Yeah.
In the absence. And you mentioned it, I should probably clarify for people too, that it's 8 years since your dad passed away.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am the only parent. You poor thing.
No.
And that said, you know, what's something about our family that has been tough or hurts your heart?
You know, for me, because my dad passed away at such an early age for me, it's not necessarily what, you know, I miss, I guess, as much as what I don't have. Like, I've never really gotten to experience. I guess. And so for me, like, what breaks my heart for our family is the sense of, like, there's so many things that we never really got to experience as a full family. But I think there's some really great parts in that too. But I think definitely it is harder not having two parents in the house sometimes, especially when it comes to, like, getting kids places or just, oh my gosh, you know what I'm talking about.
Which is really helpful now that you and your sister are driving.
Yes.
And again, reinforces you being my wife.
Yes.
You know, there's obviously a lot of similarities between us. I thought that was funny when recently a friend asked if I was your real mom or stepmom.
Yeah.
Look at us. But there's a lot of differences too. What's something that is really different about yourself that's uniquely you that excites you?
You know, I think what I love about myself is the way that I interact with other people. I think you and I both relate in that we reach a lot of people. But I think what's different is because I'm, you know, still in high school, I really get to reach out and experience different groups of people. You know, just this weekend for the first time, this is going to sound so nerdy, but I was playing D&D with some friends. Wow, it was actually such a great time.
That'd be Dungeons and Dragons for people who don't know.
And then on the other hand, you know, I get to go hang out with friends and go to drama things. I get to go watch plays and musicals with friends, and I get to go do so many different things with so many different people. And I really take pride in being able to fit in all these different groups that I get to meet.
Well, and I've loved that, and I think it has come off wrong when I've explained to people this self-proclaimed nerd.
Yeah.
But it's been fun, and we're living in a different culture where, come on, we all know that all different kinds of people rule the world, but it's not always the most popular in whatever folks. And I love that you've always just been comfortable with who you are. You know, and that said, you know, you're growing up in a time of great change politically and socially. And, you know, you have some interesting observations. We're a pretty conservative family. Stephanie and I addressed some of that, you know. But what was it like? I mean, being a teenager going through the last, say, presidential election, what was that like?
You know, it's just so interesting because as teenagers, some of us are very educated in the political system. You know, a lot of teenagers take pride in knowing about it and understanding it. And then on the other side, people like to reflect their parents. And what's so interesting is in either way, so people are so deep in how they feel, they're so rooted in it, that trying to, you know, have a conversation about it and have this sense of open-mindedness doesn't really work. And, you know, there are some people who say they're open-minded, and some people truly are, but in a high school setting, it's you can think this, but the minute you don't agree with me, the open-mindedness is gone. It's a wall now, and we're going to be on this foot of disagreement, and I don't understand how you could ever think differently from me.
And I'd love to say that's unique to being a teen. You know, that's happening in the adult world, too. That's been very hard to have some of the most open-minded, you know, progressive thinkers be really closed-minded to some other ways. So, yeah, I guess we've both experienced that. You know, one of the places that comes out, especially when I think about it, is social media.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people change their accounts and, you know, you hide people with different viewpoints, which was never the point of that medium in the first place. But social media has to be having an influence on who you are. What is social media like for people your age?
You know, it's so different. You know, there's the part of your social media that's open to the public that everyone gets to see, and it's usually, you know, what you do with your family, with your friends. It's very clean. It's very nice to look at. And then on the other hand, teenagers have started this thing of creating second accounts. And it's the things that maybe you don't want your family to see, maybe the things that you want to just say privately to your friends. And sometimes it's just like, you know, I just want to post something silly and I just want it to be a little bit less professional. But on the other hand, there's also that sense of anonymity that you get from it, and the sense that because no one's looking at it that you don't want to see, you can say whatever you want and show whatever you want. And so it creates this kind of double personality, I guess, where on one hand you see the really nice side of a person, but you also get to see the dark side that they don't want everyone to look at.
Okay. I won't ask you here if you have a second account.
I don't.
We'll talk about it later.
I'm too lazy.
I'm too lazy. What is that like? And is it public? Like, hey, I have 2 accounts. How's that working?
It really varies per person. I mean, you can kind of tell what their account's about if they vocally, you know, say, oh, come look at my second, because usually it's them like, oh, look at pictures of my cat. I mean, truly, it is just less, I guess, secretive in some respects if it's more vocal. The people who are usually quiet about it, they don't put their names in their descriptions. They keep it very, you know, private. You usually, what happens is, my friend had to explain this whole thing to me. Essentially, like, it's this, I'll follow you, you'll follow me, we'll start to figure out who each other is. It's kind of this mystery.
Yeah.
But also there are things like Sarah Ha. It's this thing where you can anonymously submit comments to a person.
Yeah.
And, you know, you start to realize, like, my friends like to post them publicly to show the comments, because I think that gets them better attention.
So
and
you're,
also,
like, screen capturing
Yes.
what people are saying. Okay.
And from that, it just shocks me. Like, there's some people who say, you know, the kind stuff and the stuff that, like, you want the app for, where they're like, I love you, you're amazing, you're so sweet, I'm so glad we're friends. And then there's the ones where things just come out of people's mouths, and you go, where did that come from? You would never say that to my face. Like, no one who respects me as an individual would ever publicly say that to me.
But to post those things, it's completely anonymous. You can't tell where it's coming from. It's not traceable.
And it's funny, and it's okay. Yeah.
In your experience, either you or friends, have you experienced that bullying or an unsafe feeling on social media?
For me personally, I don't use my social media a whole lot in that respect. I keep my social media very open, very positive, and I put myself in a position where I can love others and usually receive the same. I've never personally experienced anything negative. Generally, people who do receive negative comments keep an Instagram that's more active or an account that's more active and a lot more open, I guess.
Yeah.
And so people are more active in return, oftentimes negative. Not always, though, but personally, no, I've never experienced that.
So what kind of things do you post on social media?
I don't post very frequently. I definitely post more for, like, certain things or when I'm around people who post more. I like to post when I'm at things like homecoming or little social gatherings, or I like posting about musicals that I'm in. On my Snapchat, which is a lot more used by teenagers, and they like that because you get that sense of your teenage community and not your aunt liking all your posts kind of thing.
What do you mean? My mom's my best follower.
Right? On Facebook. So on that, I like to post more things about like the small parts of my life, you know, taking celebration in my books or like my bookshelves or things that are just a little bit smaller that I don't want to be up all the time, but just something that I want to be like, hey, look at this. This is a snapshot of my day.
Yeah.
Occasionally I like to post things because for me, I think social media is oftentimes used in a negative manner.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will post on their stories hoping for attention.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. You know, you want to get outreach and you go, if I post and 20 people see it, then that's better than me snapping one person or texting one person and asking for help. And so on my side, I do like to post saying, you know, if you need anything, please message me. People are important to me.
Yeah.
You know, I've had experiences with people who do suffer from different depressions, and it's really important to me that people feel like they're seen and known.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that more too. You know, I made a policy for myself that, and I'm sure we've talked about it, that I don't ever want to go on there and complain and whine and add to all the negativity in the world. I always, if I am, even if I'm going to bring up a tough situation, I try and wait till I've gotten to the other end of it and then go and post the lesson or what I learned and whatever. And I love that. I love seeing that you're on there. But yeah, you're definitely one of the observers.
Yeah, and you know, I definitely have learned a lot from you in the way that what you choose to post is generally very positive, or what you've learned, you know. I think having that role model has been really great, especially learning how to navigate social media.
Good. Yeah, there's a lot that can be on there. And I don't want to get too deep into this, but I want to save some things for after we get back. We'll take a break in just a minute. But things do come out on social media that need to be addressed. And so one thing I want to talk about maybe we will just start and we can pick it back up when we're done. But, you know, you're dealing with a time where there have been some pretty serious and traumatic issues that have happened in schools. You know, a lot of suicides, both peers and other schools, and it's been really difficult to deal with. And so, you know, I'd love to hear a little bit about what that's been like in your experience, having to experience that loss, and what's going on in your head and in the mind of your friends.
You know, the first real suicide that impacted me in high school was, I think, my sophomore year or freshman year.
Yeah.
It was pretty early on in my high school experience. In fact, anyway, trying to remember the certain date, I'm getting all caught up in it. But a girl that I had known, we weren't super close friends, but I knew her through groups. I was there at sleepovers with her, you know. We messaged each other on, you know, Instagram being, we should hang out sometime. And just the sweetest person you've ever met. And so I guess for me, so early on in life, realizing that even the best people, even the happiest people struggle with that. Yeah. And she had committed suicide. And for me, that was just so shocking. And it really was, I was so taken aback by it, you know. Yeah. And I think so many other people were too, because you didn't know, and you don't always know. And there were so many people who took it very differently. I mean, you're in a high school setting, and so many of these kids just haven't experienced death, they haven't experienced tragedy, and so they all respond differently, you know. There were the kids in school who were crying, there were the kids in school who just kind of were making jokes about it. That was absolutely terrible, but that was how they were trying to cope with it, trying to distance themselves and, you know, make jokes about it, because it's easier than to really look at it head on. And
it is tough. So we'll talk more about that, because you had an interesting experience where somebody was talking to you a lot about wanting, and in great detail, to hurt themselves. And so I would love to hear a little bit about that again, and, you know, what you did with that, and, you know, would you handle it the same way again if given an opportunity? Because that was impactful. That wasn't easy to deal with, was it?
No.
No. So can you tell I'm not Stephanie? I'm like, I know that there's a break coming up soon. I just don't want to start that conversation, because it was pretty deep. And again, it goes back to, you and I are very close, and we can go ahead and preface it that way. We are close, and we share so much, and you've been ridiculed for that a lot. And in a scenario when, you know, there was a suicide very recently, it had affected you, it had affected all of us, and then somebody is threatening it, and you came to me and you confided in me. And so the way that all rolled out and how you handled it took a lot of strength and bravery, but was kind of brutal. You got a little picked on, didn't you?
A little bit, you know.
Yeah. So we had to make a decision together because you were genuinely concerned for this friend of yours.
Yeah, and it's so difficult because you want to be the person who, in that scenario, it was, you're a trusted person. I don't trust many people. I'm giving this to you because I want you to walk with me with this and trust me. But it was this kind of this warped sense of security. It was this sense of, I'm going to tell you something that's not safe, that makes you not safe knowing, that makes me not safe being involved in, and I want you to not tell anyone. So on a surface level, it was, oh, I'm sharing with you and I want to get closer to you. But on a deeper level, it was, I need help and I don't want it.
Right, which is exactly what we've all been told we need to be doing,
Yes.
is addressing those things head on in these situations because it is so prevalent and we have been getting such good advice. But sadly, not enough to stop it all. How are we doing on time there? Okay, great. We can go ahead and take that break now. So we will be back in just a few moments.
Welcome to Tom Sawyer Country Coffee.
Tom Sawyer Country Coffee only roasts the finest organic coffee for our signature blends. Enjoy a cup at our coffee shop and local businesses and organizations across the region.
I'm Tom Sawyer and we choose the Pacific Northwest.
Last year alone, Avista customers saved over 53 million kilowatt hours of energy. Enough to power more than 4,000 homes for an entire year. Way to save, everyone. Way to save. Find your way to save at avistautilities.com.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
All right, and we're back. We'll kind of pick up that conversation where we left off. We're laughing a little bit about what it's like when you divulge some of these things outside of just us. There's other people watching our conversation this time. So we were talking about a situation where you had somebody confiding in you and telling you that they were genuinely thinking about hurting themselves. In fact, had some great detail. You know, what was being shared and how was it affecting you?
You know, especially at that time, I've learned now this thing called boundaries, you know, especially in friendships. Because for me, I'm the kind of person where, like, I want to be authentic. I want to be open with you. I want to know you and get to know all of you. And kind of had to learn, okay, but I also need to understand that we're individuals and there are problems that are mine and there are problems that are yours. And I need to respect that, you know. Yeah. But for sure, definitely was a lot. It was more than I'd ever really had before. You know, I was always the friend that would comfort my other friends. I've always been the person that I love to, you know, talk with people and I love to walk with people through things. And this was a little bit different, you know. It was definitely, you know, the later night conversations and someone telling me in detail what their plan was, how they're going to do it, why they wanted to do it, how much they weren't happy with life anymore. And for me, that was just devastating. You know, I've grown up in a place where that's never really been as tangible. I've never really, even though, you know, I've had depression and I've had things like that, I've been sad before and all that, I've never really gotten to the point where I physically will commit an action or consider it completely, you know. And to have someone describing all that in detail just really changed my heart at the time. It was it weighed me down a lot.
And I mean, we had talks about it because, again, we had already been to suicide prevention classes at the high school after this was starting to become the epidemic that it is. What did you do?
So actually, it was really nice because I did have a friend who, she also knew him, but wasn't in a comfortable place to, you know, go talk to someone. And I said, come with me. We won't tell him that you were there. just come with me, please be with me through this. I just need someone to walk with me to the counselor's office, you know?
Yeah.
And we talked to a trusted teacher, and he was very great about it. I think he handled it great in that he goes, I'm not equipped for this. Can I give you, you know, the counselor's number, and can you go talk to the counselor? And so we did that.
That's
and
right.
I mean, what's kind of heartbreaking is there's only so much the school can do. You know,
Right.
they're allowed to give the call home, and they're allowed to go talk to the student, but if the student doesn't want help, if the student denies it, if the parent doesn't want to help the student, it kind of stops there.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, you know. There's a certain sense of intrusion of privacy where the school just can't get all the way
And
involved.
how did it roll out from there? What happened?
You know, it was interesting. It was not received well by the person. They were very angry with me, and I got a lot of backlash from them as a person, going, how dare you intrude on our trust? You're one of the few people I ever trusted, and this is what happened. But I know for me, I took pride in the fact that they were safe, and that it did scare them a little bit, because they go, oh, shoot, you know, someone's going to, you know, call me out. Someone's going to make sure that I can't do this without, you know, having someone go, hey, are you okay? And checking up on them.
Yeah. Would you do the same thing again?
Absolutely.
Chokes me up. Good. People are important, you know?
You know, and so many people like to say, you know, I'm not as important as someone else, or people, especially struggling with depression, go, I'm not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think what's so important to me as a person is making sure that people know that they are worth it, and that every single person is worth something different, but they are so significant, and they don't deserve to, you know, not be seen.
Yeah. Well, what are, you know, you mentioned that you've gone dark, and I know that that's not the only friend of yours who's been in a place, maybe not that deep into it, but what are some of the ways that you've avoided that or gotten out of those spots for yourself?
For me, I feel the most seen and heard and taken care of when I'm with other people. I also am strong in my faith with God. I am Christian, you know that. We grew up in that home, and I've had that resource for my life. And I think another thing that was really important is I ended up going to Landmark. It's just this, there's different forms of it for everyone.
I know
but
what it
for
is.
me, essentially, it was a bucket of tools that I was given, you know. It was more things that I can give to other people, that I can teach myself, in learning how to be authentic, but also how to take care of myself and how to maintain those relationships in a healthy way.
Yeah, that was a huge breakthrough for us. I'm so glad that you allowed me to. I was going to say allowed me to force you to go.
No.
It wasn't quite that way. But relationships are important to you. Today is a very special day.
Yes.
I know that with what we're about to talk about, it's been seen as a positive and a negative.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside here, Madison's boyfriend is here. It's their 4-year anniversary today, which means you two started dating in 8th grade.
Yes, we did.
Actually, yeah. Going on the Washington, D.C. trip. He goes to a different school.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I'd be sending her on a trip where she would gain all this knowledge and information and come home with a boyfriend.
On top of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Extra little gift.
Extra little gift. Actually, he is an added bonus. We were just talking outside that a year ago we were all on a cruise, both families, having a great time.
It was so warm and not rainy.
There's been so many positives. But tell me about that. What's it like being in a 4-year relationship as a teenager?
It's different. You know, it's been interesting watching relationships around me. They don't last this long, generally speaking. You know, they go on for a certain amount of time before people lose interest or it just doesn't work out, and that's fine. I mean, I understand it. We're teenagers. Like, generally speaking, like, I always tell people, they're like, oh, how do you do it? I want to be in that long of a relationship. And I go, yeah, but it's also important to you as an individual that you get what you need.
Yeah.
And don't just stay in it because, oh, I want to be in a relationship for a long time. On the other hand, though, I think everybody has something different to say on it, you know?
Always.
Always, exactly. You know, there's adults on the other hand who go, oh, that's cute. You must
not
be
patronizing at all.
You know, they're like, oh, you must be so happy. Like, you'll learn one day what it's really like to be, you know, dating someone. And I go, okay, thank you. And they also go, you know, it's not very likely that you'll stay together super long. You know, there's the infatuation, and then after that, you're probably not going to be as interested. And I go, okay, thank you. You know, and I do respect it, and I do understand, especially with college coming on in the next chapter of our lives, you know, things might change. And that's okay. You know, I'm very open to the possibilities of the future. I'm very open to where it's going to take him and I. I think on the other hand, though, especially teenagers, I get this a lot, and they go, when are you getting married? I mean, you've been dating for,
I'm not ready for this.
No, exactly.
Dane, I'm not ready for this.
No, and him and I we get it all the time, and we both just go, no,
Yeah.
It's shocking because we're in a society now where marriage isn't required, it's very like,
oh, yeah.
Let's meet the person that you really want to be with. It's not just, okay, you look good, let's get married, but it's very interesting, especially with the place that I grow up in and the people I grow up around being like, oh, so you've been dating for 3 years, are you getting married now? And it's like, no, I still have high school and I still have college.
It's been very interesting, and it's been fun to have that, although you are the significant relationship in our household. So yes, you're the old married couple of the bunch. Hey, we've got time to talk to me about one more thing, and you just alluded to it. College is coming. What did you decide to do?
Gosh. So originally I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. I got to get at least 6 hours away. I got to go experience life. And, I'm looking at Western Washington University. I was looking at University of Washington, UW. And then, Whitworth's always been on the back of my mind. I've always had people going, oh, it's such a great school. It's so amazing. And I'm going, it's too close to home. It's a little too far in my comfort zone. And I ended up getting the opportunity to go on a free tour. And I was like, nah, it's okay. I'm not going to like it or anything. And I'm going around. I'm talking to these people. I'm touring the campus. And I'm just meeting these people who are so full of life and education and love for God and the place that they are. And I go, oh, no. Because I realized I totally fell in love.
You totally fell in love. So we're about to have a pirate in our household.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. And I know that you've taken some hits for that. People disappointed that, you're staying home. What excites you about staying in Spokane?
I don't think people understand, just because I'm at home doesn't mean, you're going to come visit me every single day. I always go, oh, she hates the drive. Don't worry about it. But, there's so much more. There's the community there that I haven't gotten to meet yet. There's the whole new, being on my own, which I'm not necessarily worried about, but I think from it, it's going to foster these new relationships and this new sense of who I am and community. And I'm just so excited to experience that.
We're lucky to have you staying here. You have one other thing that you're most excited about. Why are you, in addition to Whitworth being outstanding, tell us about that one adventure that you really want to do.
Oh, gosh. I get so excited.
We've got about 30 seconds.
All right. I'm super in love with Japanese, and I'm really in love with the Mukagawa Fort Wright Institute. They have a really great Japanese connection, and I just love speaking the language. I love knowing people. I love learning it, and I'm really excited for, as the years go on, to, continue that interest of mine.
And you will travel away eventually.
Yes.
Do some work in Japan.
Yes, hopefully.
That would be awesome. So we could sit here forever. Thank you for making the time during your spring break and your anniversary.
Yes, of course.
To come on in. So we'll go ahead and wrap up, but keep being you, keep being amazing. Proud to call you mine, sister.
Thank you, Mom.
All right, well, thank you for watching today. Stephanie will be back from her adventure before we know it, and we'll be back with Stephanie Regalado next week. Thanks for watching.
She Says is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content.